Welcome back to English and the Beauty of Language. Today I'm going to continue talking about Shakespeare's Powerful Women, um, but I want to focus on two characters today from two of Shakespeare's greatest plays. Shakespeare's greatest works are always those ones which separate themselves from the genre or from the usual run of plays from the time, and some of which, even today, are remarkable for how radical they are in some ways. So, of the two I want to talk about today, I want to talk about Lady Macbeth and I want to talk about Portia from The Merchant of Venice. The Merchant of Venice in Australia, where I live and teach, is a HSC text, so it's for senior high school students. And the Macbeth really a Year 11 text, but is also studied by juniors as well. Year 11 being the second uh, senior year of high school before the final year. So they're both very important plays, and incredibly different plays. Macbeth, in many ways, is a simpler play. It has a very clear cut hero villain, Macbeth, but he also has his accomplice, Lady Macbeth, the famous accomplice in the play. That in itself is remarkable for a play of the 16th century to have a female accomplice for the hero villain. Um, then you have The Merchant of Venice, which is one of Shakespeare's most remarkable plays. It's a play packed full of characters, like is conventional in the comedy. One thing that students will notice the difference between comedy and tragedy in general, though it's not always the case, is that there are more characters in the comedies. And that makes sense because it's a situation comedy, if you like, where there are all these different people, there are different stories happening. Excuse me. Now, there are tragedies with large casts, such as King Lear, and Hamlet, of course, has many characters. But in general, I think it's fair to say that the tragedies tend to have fewer characters, and the main characters I'm talking about, and the comedies tend to have more characters. Um, because comedy requires that situational humour where things go wrong and they're complex and interconnected. So, for example, you look at whereas the linear progression of Macbeth is fairly simple in the tragedy of Macbeth. Macbeth wins the battle, Macbeth meets the witches, Macbeth gets promoted, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth plot to murder the king, King Duncan. They murder the king, Macbeth becomes king, Lady Macbeth becomes queen. Macbeth starts killing everybody, gets out of control, kills his best friend, turns on everybody. And Lady Macbeth goes crazy with guilt, commits suicide at the end of the play, and Macbeth is finally brought to justice by the enraged Macduff, whose family Macbeth has murdered in his quest for tyranny and power, having been manipulated by the weird sisters, the witches. Lady Macbeth, as I mentioned, I think in the last video or the one before that, is kind of a tragic figure. She's you don't feel so sorry for Macbeth, but you do, I think, feel some sympathy for her as she goes crazy. There's the famous scene with her trying to wash the blood off her hands, of course, which everybody knows about. Even students who haven't read the play usually know about that famous scene where Lady Macbeth, before she kills herself, is found in her room by her servants trying to wash the blood off her hands. And of course, symbolically, there's no blood on her hands. It's in her mind. The guilt is too much for her to bear. And then the beautiful soliloquy that Macbeth makes after he learns of her death, that tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow sleeps in this petty pace from day to day, and all our yesterdays, and so on. I haven't got it in front of me, excuse me, but it's a beautiful soliloquy that he makes there as a kind of a homage or tribute to his just past wife who's just killed herself in guilt, and he's about to die himself, and you get a sense in that he understands it, even though he's still in denial, and Macbeth is in denial right to the very end, which again says a lot about the power of self-delusion and corruption. Anyway, but in the play, Macbeth tries to stop at one point. He tries to stop it. He says, "We're not going to kill Duncan. And he goes to Lady Macbeth and he says, we're not going to do this. And this is her reply. I'm just going to read a little bit for you. And I'll read Macbeth as well. This is what he says to Lady Macbeth. We're in Act 1, Scene 7. We will proceed no further in this business. He hath honoured me of late, that's King Duncan, and I have bought golden opinions from all sorts of people, which would be worn now in their newest gloss, not cast aside so soon. So that's Macbeth saying, I've decided not to kill Duncan. I'm doing great. I got promoted. Everyone loves me. I'm fantastic. I'm not going to do this. It's wrong. And that's very wise of him. This is Lady Macbeth's response. Was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself? Hath it slept since, and wakes it now to look so green and pale at what it did so freely? From this time such I count thy love. She's calling him a liar, basically. Art thou feared to be the same in thine own act and valour as thou art in desire? Wouldst thou have that which thou esteemest the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem? Is that a remarkable thing? She's just called Macbeth a coward to his face. This is set in the 11th century and written in the 16th century. A remarkable thing for a wife and a loyal partner to say to a man, a knight in those times. And Macbeth equivocates. He's such a wimp, excuse the expression, but he is. In this case, this great soldier who's prepared to kill just about everybody is so weak. He says, I dare do all that may become a man. Who dares do more is none. And Lady Macbeth comes back at him so powerfully. What beast was it then that made you break this enterprise to me? When you durst do it, then you were a man. And to be more than what you were, you would be so much more the man. Nor time nor place did then adhere, and yet you would make both. They have made themselves, and that their fitness now does unmake you. Is that a remarkable thing to say to Macbeth, who is trying in this moment to be honourable and, in a sense, to protect his wife from the corruption that has come into their lives through the Weird Sisters? And, I mean, she rebukes him so powerfully. She calls him a coward, and she says, you're not a man, you're a liar, you're a failure. If only you would be brave at this moment, you would be worthy of my love and the admiration of everybody else. It's incredible. And so the power of this woman, and then the progression through the play where she dies tragically, trying to wash the blood off her hands, as I said, representing the psychological trauma of what they've done together. And Macbeth here in that moment trying to protect her ineffectively. And you see here Shakespeare examining the failings of a man, about how a good man can be so corrupted, revealing the fact that Macbeth in fact is a flawed man. He is a villain who has all the benefits of his time and power and position and trust of the king because he's a great warrior, but in fact he lacks the moral courage to do what's right. And he knows what's right and he knows what's wrong, and he goes ahead and he does it anyway. I'm trying to keep these videos under 10 minutes. I didn't get to speak about Portia. I'm going to make another one about her. But I hope that's of value to students, particularly, obviously, people who are studying Macbeth. I'll make another video about, so I want to talk about Portia. I had a wonderful conversation with a student about Portia the other day, and I want to try to capture some of that. Okay, thank you.